One love, good family. God bless. This is your boy, Seth Garu Baxter, with Makers Bar Podcast Network, creating 1 million leaders today for tomorrow. I am extremely pleased and honored and in gratitude to have as our guest today a young man who's on the ground doing God's good work. Not only that, he's a young entrepreneur. He is the founder of Purpose Global, and his resume is extensive. Along with Purpose Global, he is also the president of the HG Gospel Movement International from 2013 to present time, founder of Purpose Global from 2021 to present, the executive director of PP Media Impact, and the founding director of PP Media Worldwide. We are speaking to Peter Chushi Kasongo, all the way in please forgive me, Peter, pronounce it
all the way from Zambia.
Zambia. We are international, audience of Makers Bar. We are international today from Zambia. And just so you get a brief background, those of you who are watching us today, Peter has already experienced a great deal of challenge just to make this pleasant interview with us today, having lost power and having to seek his way to find power for us to be able to have this conversation. So we're truly honored to have him here with us today. I can't say enough about this brother and what he's doing, the work he's doing with the blessing of God and the support of his tenacity and his energy. And along with being a snazzy dresser, I told Peter already, I'm digging his threads. He has some cool vibe threads along with the hat. So
thank you.
Absolutely. And I must say that in speaking with someone over on the other side of the world who's doing the work that he does, Makers Bar is truly honored to have him here today. What we're going to do today is discuss Peter's work with his organizations. We're going to discuss some of the challenges and the successes. And hopefully, as Peter feels comfortable, as we continue to converse, you will be able to see there is much work for us to do internationally. There's much work that we can do in supporting his efforts. If anything that I can suggest and advise you fellows and ladies to do is please check out what he's doing. I've had the privilege of seeing his profile to know the extensive and incredible work that he's doing over there in Zambia. I feel that this will be enlightening, inspirational, and encouraging to many people. And he is one of the leaders that Makers Bar likes to support and put a spotlight on, because a number of people don't understand that on the other side of the world, there are people who are dedicating their lives to service, and not only service, but leadership and creating new leaders. He also recently gave the opening speech regarding a water shortage that's occurring there. And in fact, that was some of what happened today that caused us to delay our interview. So Peter did everything possible, and God made a way for him to be able to get it back in touch with us and have this interview for you, ladies and gentlemen, today. Peter, thank you so much with my full heart. I appreciate you taking out the time to spend it with us today.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm humbled. Thank you for inviting me to this special platform. I did not take it lightly. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Peter. So, Peter, please tell us a little bit about yourselves. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself. You currently have these positions, but how did you get your start?
All right. Like you've already introduced me, my name is Peter Chushi Kasongo. I come from a beautiful country called Zambia, where we have the Victoria Falls, also known as the Mosotunya, one of the 7 wonders of the world. But currently, unfortunately, our falls is dry right now because of the drought that we experienced last year. Yeah, so a bit about myself. I'm just a young boy that grew up in Livingston. Yes, I grew up in harsh conditions, of course, in terms of economical challenges. It's not like I had it all. There's that thing where we believe that there's a middle class. Of course, I don't really believe in middle class. It's just a well-decorated poor man. So because of that pain growing up, I never wanted to experience poverty when I grow up. So that really inspired me to fight so hard and become the leader that I am today. And apart from that, my father is a leader. He has been a leader and been a fighter. He's somebody who came out of poverty also and fought so hard to be where he is today. So he's also been my sort of like my inspiration. So all the leadership positions that you see out there, it's because I always believe that passion is a mixture of two things. It's a mixture of purpose and pain. So it's something that hurts you, and how can I say it? Let's take, for instance, if you hate poverty, then that can be a source of your passion, a source of your drive. So the leadership aspect will come in to drive the change, to see that poverty is gone, to eradicate that poverty. So it comes from a painful point. Okay, so that's what leadership is all about. That's why you see certain leaders, they don't like seeing bad governance. Why? Because they come from a point whereby when they see bad leadership, they come in and say, we don't like this. Probably it's because it has affected them before, or somebody who has been raped before, or somebody who has undergone sexual abuse wouldn't like to see other girls go through the same. So they become a leader in that particular pain point. So in an environment of crisis, crisis has birthed a lot of leaders. So I'm a young man from Zambia who has gone through crisis and economical challenges, but through those economical challenges, a leader has been birthed. Yeah. So just in a nutshell. Yeah.
So to elaborate a little bit, you mentioned that your father was also a leader. When you say he was a leader,
Yes.
also do you mean he was just a leader as your dad, or was he also a community leader and a city leader? Describe a little bit about his leadership.
So my dad has been a community leader. He's been a leader at his church. He's been volunteering for quite so many years. I think 10 years plus. He won a project at that particular church. He was the one who has been spearheading a project of a school. So children have been given an opportunity to go to school, especially orphans. So it's a trust school. Yeah, they've been given a privilege because of his leadership. He's a very strategic man. So apart from that, he has also came up with a proposal of putting up shops just by the church. He's a man that also started up his own sort of like businesses and all that. So he's been a leader also in the agriculture sector, because by profession he started agricultural. He started agribusiness, and at master's level he did an MBA. So he's also been a leader in the society. So he's an elder actually in church. He's an elder in church. Yeah.
Oh, fan. Oh, so
Yeah.
you became in the States, here in the United States, we call it a preacher's kid or a PK. So you were a PK also?
Yeah, something like that.
And now we preachers kids, sometimes we're the worst kids.
Yeah, that's
and so Peter, so through watching your father and his leadership style, how did that inspire you to get to some of the work that you're doing now? What got you to this place of the work that you're doing? Because I'm hoping we're able to get into the many facets of what you're doing there in Zambia. So what was your beginning to get into the work that you're currently doing?
Okay. So basically, like I said, my dad has been my inspiration. Apart from that, I also have many people that inspired me, especially online. I don't. A podcast on interview cannot end without mentioning a name of a great man called Dr. Miles Monroe, because through his mentorship and through his teachings, I got to discover my purpose.
Dr.
So
Miles Monroe, just so I
yes,
heard the
the
name
less
correctly.
Dr. Miles Monroe. Yes. So through his teachings, I got to discover my purpose. I also salute people like Pastor Chris Oyakilome, who really inspired me to go into ministry at a young age, because I started doing ministry when I was 18 years old. Right now I'm 28. That's when I started the AG Gospel movement, when I realized the importance of winning souls and just growing the kingdom of God and helping people, young people, get out of addictions. So that's when I started ministry, a movement, when I was 18 years old. That was in 2013. Yeah, so when it came to purpose, Dr. Miles Monroe really inspired me. So when I discovered my purpose, because I realized to say, okay, what is my purpose? So I was going to church. I was a singer in church, committed to
You were a
church.
Singer.
Yeah,
You
I
were a
actually have
singer.
an
Oh
EP.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm an EP. So during my free time, actually, it's one of my hobbies. So I make music. I make Afro music. I make
Oh,
some fusion music. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe you'll give us a little sample of some of your singing.
At the end, I'll do that.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's fine. So yeah, so basically that has been my source of inspiration, because I came to learn that you can go to church, you can be committed to church, you can be doing all that stuff, yet you don't actually know your purpose. We have a lot of people that go to church, they are Christians, actually, unfortunately, even preachers, because they'll tell you what your purpose is, just to preach the gospel. They don't really know what the specific purpose is. So when I discovered my specific purpose in life, that's when the whole I fired up when it came to preaching and talking about purpose, because I realized to say, okay, everything about me is built to encourage and to help people, discover their purpose, to help people maximize their purpose, to make people manifest their purpose. Because when it comes to the way I talk, to the way I dress, to the way I interact with people, everything about me just motivates lives. And if somebody comes in contact with me, their lives will never be the same, by the grace of God. So that's when I took that seriously, and I said, okay, now I need to take this to the next level, because I realized Dr. Miles Monroe says the greatest tragedy in life is not death, but life without a purpose. I realized a lot of young
Oh
people
wow.
abuse their lives when they don't discover their purpose. And the worst thing ever on earth is to, I say, when you don't know your purpose, you're not living, you're just existing. And the worst thing in life is to get busy into a wrong assignment. I think that's failure. So
Explain that,
from those,
Peter. If you don't mind, can we back up there? Explain that a little bit.
all right, there are a lot of people today that don't know what their purpose is. Okay. Um, so a lot of people, they get busy into the wrong assignment. Let's take, for instance, I personally am called, to help people discover their purpose, and I'm called for that specific assignment. That just because I am a good speaker, I've got attributes that help me do that purpose. That doesn't make me a teacher, probably for a university, or maybe a teacher for primary school or a kindergarten school. So sometimes our purpose is manipulated, and we get busy in a wrong assignment. So getting busy in a wrong, it can be successful in a wrong direction. So that is failure, because at the end of the day, we can only judge the ability of a pen when it comes to, let's take for instance, for a chair. Even if you put books on a chair, you cannot measure the effectiveness of a chair by the amount of books it can hold. No, you can only measure the effectiveness of a chair by the number of people who have sat on that chair. So at the end of the day, there are a lot of young people and a lot of people out there that are busy. Let's take, for instance, there's a trap and there's a circle already in the world today where people get busy in their jobs. Okay, it is what we call a rat race. People want just to make ends meet. At the end of the day, you gotta feed your belly. You get a hustle. You gotta hustle. But at the end of the day, people are just making the money, but they're not actually fulfilling their core purpose in life. So when it comes to the end, now when they're at their deathbed, they ask themselves, "Did I fulfill my purpose?" And the question is, no. They got busy in the wrong assignment. So getting busy in the wrong assignment actually is failure. Yeah, that's what I meant.
So how does one get into the wrong assignment? Is it that we choose that assignment, we find out later that was not where we were supposed to be? How does one find out they're in the wrong assignment?
All right, so it all starts from, because for you to find out that you're in the wrong assignment, then you need to discover your purpose. Okay, so there are other people who actually know their purpose, but the pressures of life have pushed them into the wrong assignment. And then there's another category
Uh,
of people that actually don't even know their purpose. So they are in the wrong assignment, because when you don't know your purpose, abuse is unavoidable. It's inevitable. So there are two categories of people: those that actually know their purpose, but the pressures of life has pushed them in the wrong assignment, and those people that don't actually know their purpose, they're just in a wrong assignment. Yeah.
Now, once they've discovered they're in the wrong assignment, what do you have specific techniques? What is it that you do to teach them how to find their purpose?
Yeah, so those are now the techniques that I bring in. I've made it very simple and I've broken it down. There are a few steps that somebody can take just to discover their purpose. Okay, those are some of the coaching sessions that I do for the young people. Like I had one coaching session recently, if you went through my LinkedIn, where I was coaching young people because I actually realized if I discovered my purpose when I was still very, very young, I think I would have even caused even more impact, because when somebody discovers their purpose, I mean, then impact starts automatically, because when you discover your purpose, it's something worth dying for. So there are some simple things. I've broken it because just for a young person to also understand, for a youth in the community just to understand how to go about this particular thing, of which some of the things that I can share here. How do you discover your purpose? If you ask me that question, I'll share it right here on this platform. Yeah.
I'd like that. Go explain it to us. What you feel comfortable with, please.
Okay. All right. So I was just talking to the young people just to give them an example on how you discover your purpose. It's very simple. A design of a product dictates its function or dictates its purpose. So let's take, for instance, for a bow. A bow is designed in a way that it is round in shape. So because of a design, that design dictates its purpose. It has to be kicked, obviously, by the famous players and all that stuff. All right. So its design automatically dictates its purpose. So before creating a design of a product, you must understand the purpose of the product. So before creating a phone, somebody must understand, what do you want to use this phone for? So the purpose of, actually, how can I say it? The purpose of a product is also vice versa. The purpose of the product will also dictate its design. So for a phone, it has to be used for communication. So it has got a speaker, it has got a mouthpiece, it has got probably everything. So when you look at it, obviously you notice, okay, this has to be used for communication. So to begin with, when somebody has to discover their purpose, they need to look at their description. It's very important, because your description would tell you or will point you to your purpose. Yeah. So let's take, for instance, like I was giving an example of a phone. All right. So its purpose is for communication. So when you look at the phone, it's flat in nature. You can carry it in the hand. It's not something big that you can lift. No, it's something that is handy. And everything about its design, it's meant in a way that it can be used easily for communication. All right. So same applies with us human beings. God has created it. God has created us for a purpose. God is our manufacturer, and He has designed everybody with a different fingerprint. And everyone has been designed differently. I've been designed differently. I can talk. Probably I'm eloquent, or maybe I'm, other people that cannot just come into this podcast and talk the way I'm talking. So that's something different. So I went to my description and I looked at myself. What is it that makes me different? How's my description? How has God designed me? All right. So that already dictates my purpose, because I find it that every day, I'm telling you, almost every day, I need to encourage someone. Like it's just a
I
daily
love
thing
that.
for me.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's something that I do every day, and I do it naturally, and I find so much satisfaction when I encourage somebody. So I began to look at myself to say, okay, what type of design? Okay, I'm like this, God has created me like this. I can easily interact with people. I can easily speak. Like I just have the boldness to speak. Okay, so how's my design like? So immediately when I looked at my design and I looked at something that I do almost every day, I was like, okay, this actually points me to my purpose. So when somebody wants to discover their purpose, they have to look at their design. So in other terms, or in other words, I can also say the problem that you solve can also point you to your purpose. The question is, what
Oh,
problem are
wow.
you solving? Because purpose is not about me. Purpose is about the people. You understand? That's why I always tell people to say, you cannot talk about purpose if you don't have love, because purpose is about helping people. Purpose is about serving people. It's about servant leadership. at the end of the day. So it's also yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what purpose is all about. Somebody has to look at the description, and their description will point them to their purpose. So let them list down what their description is like. How did God design me? What has God designed me for? Everyone has been created differently. And I always say your area of purpose. Once you discover your purpose, you've discovered your area of leadership. I don't believe in Socrates theory. I believe everyone is born to be a leader. And so I always tell people your area of purpose is your area of leadership, or your area of gifting is your area of leadership. Let's take, for instance, when it comes to purpose, this is my area. So this has become my area of leadership. We have got footballers like, let's mention names, Ronald, Messi, and all those guys. That area of their gifting is their area of domain. Therefore, that makes it their area of leadership. So when somebody discovered their purpose, when we talk about the message of purpose, it's not just about purpose, but we're also birthing leaders. Yeah.
Now, tell me, do you primarily teach this to younger adults, or is this to kids that are under 18, or is it to in general, all people, young people and adults?
All right. So I teach this to everyone, like everyone, but my major focus, my heart, as you can tell from my swag, is the young.
Is what? I'm sorry, I was laughing.
It's the young people. Yeah,
Young
because
people, yes.
I strongly believe if we can have young people discover their purpose at a young age, trust me, we're going to have a different world altogether. We're going to have a lot of impact altogether. Let's look at Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ caused the most of impact when he was a youth. Let's look at the disciples, okay? Let's also look at most of the leaders that we have, okay, in history, when it comes to history. They were all young people. So there's something that happens when young people discover their purpose at a young age. So I focus more. Yes, I make it general through my media platforms and everything, but I'm looking at these young people. If young people can discover their purpose at a young age, then we're gonna have a whole revolution. Yeah.
I liken when you said we're going to have a whole revolution. I even used it in my last interview. The revolution will begin with the love-olution. And the
Yeah.
love-olution is the
All
revolution
right.
of love. The love-olution is the
Yeah.
revolution of love. And
Exactly.
you speak very close to my heart, because I worked for a long time with young people, and that was
Oh, great.
we have a similar heart. And 17 years, and even to this day, but 17 years dedicated to trying to help young people find themselves in their purpose.
Great
And
stuff.
that's one of the things that attracted me to what you were doing,
Great
in
stuff.
working with young people, especially in working with young people. Now, do you hold seminars or classes? How do you go about recruiting the young people that you work with? Do you go out to seek them? Describe to us the process and how you get to work with the young people.
All right. So like I told you recently, I had a coaching session where I brought in young people, and then I was coaching them. Yeah, so basically I do one-on-one. Others I do one-on-one even via online for those that cannot access me physically, because the world has changed now. Apart from that, there are those that I coach directly through the company. Is it through the organization? I've given some young people platforms because I'm a very practical person. I just don't talk. I've mentored quite a number of young people, even in the media space. So I do one-on-one coaching. I organize classes, and then I also do online. So those are some of the modes that I use to mentor young people. So I just don't do it via the Purpose Global, but I also do it via HG Gospel Movement, and I also do it via the companies and various organizations that I operate in. That's
Oh,
how I do
okay.
it.
Okay. That
Yeah,
makes sense. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And now I'm very curious, the culture that you are doing this teaching in, is it just in Zambia? Because you said you also do it online. Is it just in Zambia, online and or in person, or is it internationally outside of just your home country?
Okay, so I'm doing it both online and outside. Yeah, because I have quite a following from East Africa as well, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, yeah. So and out of Africa, of course. So Basically, if you've seen my LinkedIn focuses more on a community that is out of Africa. Africa basically and out of Africa. But if you come to my Facebook majorly focuses on Zambia and East Africans majorly. Yeah, so it's not just local. I believe in a scripture, Acts 1 verse 8, which says, "You shall receive power when the Holy Ghost comes upon you, and you shall become a witness to the ends of the earth." The moment I read that scripture when I was a teenager, I believed that I'm a global person because I need to go to the ends of the earth. Yeah.
Now, I love that scripture. I'm very curious. I'm very curious. So, in Zambia, what is it like? To give to the people what you see in your country every day you wake up. Describe to us. I believe a number of people have different perceptions on what they might think it would be like or what they would hear, but a number of people here would be naive to what you wake up to every day. So describe to us what you wake up when you see. Pardon me.
All right. All right. That's a very interesting question. All right. So what I wake up to in Zambia is a beautiful morning, of course, with sunrise. I've got a beautiful sunrise that comes out. Of course, we have to go to work. Currently, like I told you, we are facing some drought crisis, so we're having a lot of power outages, power cuts.
I guess that's what I was also meaning.
Yeah,
I didn't mean
so
to interrupt. I guess that was also meaning how that happened. Yeah.
So it was actually a challenge for me to get here. We've been given schedules because that we have to follow when it comes to power. So because of the crisis that we had, because we depend on hydro power, but because of the drought that we had, it's been a very challenging thing for the government just to switch from hydro to other forms of energy, because Zambia is a third world country, and economically it's still growing. So that has been a challenge. So you would imagine having power cuts. Businesses are being affected every day. You would imagine businesses that cannot afford solar energy. That's what we work up to. But at the end of the day, we must keep on fighting and we must keep on conquering.
That's right.
So we also have a beautiful side of, let's take for instance of the town where I come from. Like I told you, there's a Victoria Falls, which is dry, which is one of our major income because there's 7 wonders of the world. So a lot of people from different countries, they come in just to see the Victoria Falls. But as I'm telling you right now, if you see the pictures on the internet, it's quite sad because it's dry, literally dry. So that has also affected our tourism industry here in Zambia. So currently there's a lot of crisis going on around us. Our president has been trying quite hard to go out there and see how best he can partner with investors that can bring in different forms of energy like the solar energy in our country, but it's not going to happen short term because to implement certain strategies is quite long term. It takes some time. So basically that's what I wake up to. So you have power for 6 hours and then it cuts, and then you have to make a plan, and then you have to do all that. So we are in that state where we have to save in monies for our company so that we can move from hydro energy to solar energy, stuff like that. So apart from that, there's a good, beautiful meal that we have. It's called Nshima, which is our staple food, or pap. I don't know how you call it there. We have
wait. So Nashima?
Shima.
Shima. What is Shima? What is that?
So Shima is maize that is grinded, just like cassava flour or millet flour, the one you use for baking, but it is made out of maize. So there's the way you cook it, so it's sort of like, and then there's the way you eat it with some meat, with some soup, some gravy, and yeah, that's our staple food. That's what makes us strong. Actually, we believe when we won the Africa Cup, it's the one that made us won the Africa Cup because we have so much energy when we eat that pub. Yeah, so I always wake up to that. I have to eat that at least in a day. If I've not eaten pap, then I'm not Zambian. Apart from that.
So wait. So if you don't eat pap, you're not Zambian?
Yeah, not Zambian. You're not Zambian.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So we also have a beautiful, quite a there's still the River Zambezi, which is there. We've got quite some beautiful hotels just along the river banks. Yeah, so we take some time to go there. There's also what we call a lion walk. You can go there and walk with the lions. You can bump into elephants. It's quite a very beautiful. It's quite a very beautiful town. It's quite a very beautiful town. That's what I work up to. But unfortunately, for a leader like me who's been digging deep into certain affairs, you find like that we don't actually own the tourism industry, because through the media, we managed to interact and to interview like the Zato Zambia indigenous tourism operators in Livingstone, and we came to realize that most of the major hotels and the major investments that are made in the tourism sector, they're not actually owned by Zambians. So it's actually very sad that I know this can be a very a bit shaming to my country, but sometimes we need to face certain problems head on collusion. We actually don't
Absolutely.
own. We actually don't own. Let me just say we don't own any industry in our country. That's the sad part.
No,
So
wait. So Peter, so no Zambians own industry within their own country?
So what I mean, there's like a tourism industry, there's like the mining industry, there's like different industry. So it's like we as Zambians, we are there, but we only wait for investors to give us whatever they make at the end of the day. So you rarely find Zambians that have started up like their own supermarkets, or Zambians who have invested massively in the tourism industry. So this is happening greatly in East Africa and other countries like West Africa, like Nigeria. They are moving quite very fast. But in Zambia, I think we've been a bit slow when it comes to that. So that's one of the studies that I've made, because I got an opportunity at least to stay in Uganda for about 5 to 6 years. So that has made me to have a different perception also when it comes to how I perceive certain things. Yeah.
Now, is that something you're hoping to change? Since you've become aware of that, is that something you want to work toward changing, where Zambians have more participation in the direction of owning businesses and so forth?
Yes, definitely yes. So the fight hasn't been easy. Like I told you, I've not really given you my story of. It's not really like I was given capital to start a business, or investors
You can
came
share your
from.
story. Share your story
Yeah,
with us. We'd love to hear it.
yeah, yeah. So, like I said, I just came from a middle income. I grew up from a middle income home. My parents who are government workers. Just imagine almost every child here in Zambia. Usually, people come from middle income, middle income homes, or rather poor homes. Because for me, middle income is just a well decorated poor man. So yeah, so you really have to find your way out. You really need to fight hard when it comes to ensuring that you realize or you manifest your dreams. So looking at the business sector, how did I start up the company? I really never had an investor who came in and said, you know what, Peter, here's the money, go do A, B, C, D. No. I was in my university. I didn't even have any camera, because I've invested in media and marketing. I didn't even have any camera or sort, but what I did was to invest in my skills. So it's a different story here in Africa. It's not about telling people to say, you go and start a business. How are they going to start a business when they can't even afford on their basic need, on their clothing, on what to eat? So how do you start up a business? So the formula is a bit different from the books that we read. Sometimes I know the Western world, sometimes they send us books and they tell us, to be an entrepreneur, do A, B, C, D, but the methods don't really apply here. Some do, but it's really a different whole culture. The question is, where are you going to get a capital from if you can't even eat? There are our young people out there that can't even eat, that didn't even have a meal today. So the question is, how then do you start up a business? How then do you start up systems like business that we've seen out there, like Facebook systems where people employ other people? I'm not talking about a self-employed type of business. I'm talking about entrepreneurship. I'm talking about us getting to have our own industry now. How do you now then have that industry? How then do you build up those businesses? That's where the question is in this dark and very challenging environment. So I'm going to share with you my story. I came from a middle income home where honestly, I can't say that we had everything. we didn't have everything, of course. There are days where you just have to eat some meals that you don't like, days that you have to, you know what I mean, and days where my parents had to go and get loans for me just to go to school, from my high school and all that. It doesn't really been an easy journey. So when I was in my university, now what I did was to invest in my skills. All right, my friends would go back home during holidays, but I stayed there to learn how to use the camera, basically ISO shutter speed, how to graphic designing, how to edit in Adobe Premiere, how to edit in Adobe Premiere and other softwares, because all I had was an exposure to internet. All I had was internet. So I had to learn some of those skills. So with those skills, what I was, I ended up starting up a company, a photography company. And that photography company, I started with the camera because I used to work with the school. So the school had this camera that I used to use for the editorial magazine because they had spotted my skill. So from there, I started using the same camera actually for the business. I said, okay, let me try out the photography. So I started with nothing. I didn't own, I had literally nothing. You understand? So all I had was the skill in me. So from there, I started with one camera. I started with a photography company. I spotted a different friends of mine when it comes to human resource. I had to look at people who believe in a vision, people who would drive with me, and that's how it started. From there, we realized you can actually rent gears from the community out there. There were people who were renting gears, so we got the gears, advanced our company, and we said now we are offering services to organizations, companies. We're doing weddings and so. And then from there, we had to get money from our clients, use the same money, hire the gears, and do all that. There are times where we had to get those cameras, we need to take it back to the owners, and it was like a distance because where our university is a bit far away from the main town, which is Kampala. So sometimes you need to meet, you need to be there right on time. There's a time where it actually rained on us with the cameras. Why? Because we're trying to rush and just, and we never wanted to disappoint our clients. So it was a very tough time, but we need to build a business without having the equipment. You understand what I mean? And the good part, God blessed me with one guy, Mr. Amos Kenyi, who is from South Sudan, and my other brother of mine, Mr. Munda Mudenda. Amos Kenyi is actually a refugee who has a very interesting story because South Sudan, it went through a lot of challenges, a lot of war. But I got this brother of mine and said, we can work, we can do something. So as we grew, when I came to, we eventually bought one camera from the savings that we had. And then from one camera, as I came back to Zambia, we had major clients and more clients. Then we bought more cameras. From more cameras, we're able to buy some printing equipment, then buy some drones, buy some stuff like that. So that's how we've grown as a business. So like you can tell to say where we started from, we just started with the skills that we had. We really never had anybody to give us capital, and that actually that actually took some time for, like it was a bit hard for us to, because other businesses, when they have investors, they can actually get it quickly, they have all the equipment. But for us, it actually took some time because we had to wait, hire the equipment stage. From that stage, save up, buy some equipment. From that stage, go to another stage. So for 7 years, actually the company has been in existence for 7 years now. So we had to do all that. And then apart from that, because we had a spiritual element of the company, South Sudan has been long married with war. We started a project called PP Media TV South Sudan, where we had to showcase the beauty of South Sudan. Looking at my brother who came from South Sudan, okay, and I looked at the potential. I was like, because all the stories I had ever heard was that South Sudan, there's always war. Those people are very, ruthless and all that. But when I worked with this person, I saw a different side of South Sudan. So I took it upon my heart to say we're going to rebrand South Sudan. So we pushed that TV in South Sudan, and we had more young people come in on board when it comes to media. So as I'm telling you right now, we have young people who are actually making up films in South Sudan. So already you can see that young people have been empowered in terms of talent, and they've seen an opportunity, and that opportunity they can actually use it to make money and to grow in terms of entrepreneurship as well. So that also has been sort of my story. So my story, what I can say is that here in Africa, it's about you discovering your skills and using whatever you have. It's like a story of David. David, all he had was a sling. All right. other people. Goliath had all the necessities. He had the big sword, the helmet of brass, very heavy. But all that David had was a sling. So here in Africa, what I've come to learn is a principle that is a principle of with what you have, you will have. Okay, so you have to use whatever you have. So at the end of the day, but it is not a very easy. It's a very rough. It's a very rough journey. So what am I saying? So coming to the point of industry. So that's a practical example that I've been doing. So I have young people that I've been working with already in the company, mentoring. I've been mentoring young people, teaching them photography skills. All right,
What are
teaching
their
them.
ages? Real quick, what are their ages?
Their ages, I've got one boy who is like 17 years old. I've got most of them that another one is like 20. Most of them are below 30. Yeah, most of
Okay.
them are below 30. So these are
Okay.
youths that have been training in terms of media skills because it has worked for me. Okay, it has worked for me. Right now, as I'm saying, I'm using a very nice laptop, a gaming PC to have this interview. Back then, I had a very buggered PC where even just to load this interview is going to be a challenge. So through the same entrepreneurship, I'm capable of doing all the podcasts, all the stuff that you've been seeing online through the same media company that I actually own today. So what am I saying? I just don't tell stories to African young people or to young people out there. I show them the practical side of it to say, you know what, this is how you have to go about it. And here in Africa, you need to be very resistant. Yeah. So going back to the questions that you had posed to me, what are you doing about this industry? So what am I doing is I'm promoting entrepreneurship and I'm promoting skills because the problem is where there is no innovation, there is a problem of self-belief. So there's been a problem of innovation here in Zambia and generally in Africa. You see countries like China, countries like the USA, where you are, there's a lot of innovation. Recently, I was watching Elon Musk and what he has been doing, advancing whatever robotics, and people are always innovating. People are always thinking. But for us here, we always think to say, okay, the Western world, they're gonna create these products, they're gonna give us these clothes to wear, they're gonna give us the pieces. But it's about time where young people come together and begin to innovate. So that's with self-belief as well, because there's that belief system that has to be broken. Because you can imagine we got our independence in 1964, but up to now we still don't believe in innovation. Up to now we are still facing a hydro power crisis. You understand what I mean? So then what really is the problem? The problem is a self-belief. Do we really believe in ourselves? Do we really believe in innovation? So that's what I've been preaching to my fellow young people when it comes to entrepreneurship. So it's a practical side. I get young people, I teach them entrepreneurship. So aside from that, I also have an organization because I saw it is okay. There is a company and then there is a humanitarian side of it because I'm very passionate about empowering young people. So that organization, which is the PP Media Impact, actually, where now I'm the executive director, because for the company I've worked for 7 years, I was like, okay, now let me begin to give other young people to run this thing. So now there's an organization which is PP Media Impact, Perfect Philanthropic Media Impact, which was birthed through the company. So this organization, basically what it does is to train young people with media tech and IT skills. We also look at issues to do with leadership and governance. We also look at advocating for critical issues, critical community issues. Let's take, for instance, you saw me giving a speech on water, on the water
Yes. I
crisis.
want you to talk about that, elaborate on that too.
Yes, you saw me giving a speech on the water crisis. So what happened was I went on a project with the Zambia Railways in a village called Wombwe Village. And when I went for a project, because went to document, they were they were working on the rail line. Okay, they were just working on the rail line. So I went there in Wombo Village, and what I saw with my eyes was very heartbreaking. I saw I saw a mother with a child going at this hole that they dug, and they were fetching water, which was brown in color, and just around there were like cows, cattle around with dung scattered around, and that very water is the water that they were drinking, the ones that animals are also,
Oh my gosh.
you know what I mean. So that really broke my heart. That really touched me. And then when I interviewed one of the young people, they actually told me, actually, we even stay near, the park. Sometimes these lions, they actually come, these wild animals, to drink from here. And I'm like, okay, let me interview this woman. When I interviewed the woman, she told me, we don't even have a hospital facility here. So this is the water that we drink. We are like animals here. And then I was like, this is my country. This is Zambia. Then what is happening in my country? And then The worst part is when we moved around the same community, we discovered there were a lot of areas that still don't have water. Then I was thinking to myself, always I'm at home, at least I have some access to clean water. As we are talking right now, there are people tomorrow that won't have that access. They don't have clean water. I decided to do a documentary through the organization. I was like, I'm going to document this and I'm going to take this to the world. It started with one camera. I took that documentary. I interviewed those people. I think I'll share that video with you. I interviewed those people. I did the drone shots. I did everything. The good part was I have a brother of mine who is the president for the World Youth Water Parliament. So that person also has given me the passion to do with climate change and water. So when I documented that video, I said, Mr. President, there's this situation that we have today. I'm going to document a video. I'm going to share with you. I want you to look at it. And he said, okay, let's go with it. So when we did the documentary of the video, I mean, lives were, people were really broken by the video. It went very viral. I think it has gone USA, mentioned other countries, Europe, and all that. But it's been very hard for us to get the funding for this particular, for that same village. So, but God, by His grace, we had one of the leaders here who has come in to partner with us on the same particular project, and we are hoping we found in the budgets and everything, and we are hoping that we'll take water in that particular village pretty soon. So that is from the organization sector, how we've been using media just to advocate for these particular critical issues. So when it comes to the leaders, again, I just mentioned about this young man called Mr. Katongo. Mr. Katongo is one of the people that we've worked with. So there was an opportunity to stand for presidents on the world level in terms of the Water Youth Parliament. So he came to me and I encouraged him. It was like a joke. I told him, said, Mr. Man, when it comes to global issues, because of the Acts 1 verses 8 that I told you, I really believe in global stuff because I know we've been empowered by the Holy Spirit for a global agenda. And I told the young man and said, you know what? I know this is an opportunity and you're making this small, but you're going to take up this and you're going to run for an election. That's how he ran for the election. We pushed him and he became the president of the World Youth Water Parliament. And recently he was in Indonesia where he was representing us in that forum. World Youth Water Parliament is a big forum. I mean, it's a very big forum. So that's how I've also inspired other young leaders to rise up. So basically the organizations, that's what we've been doing. We were in the refugee camp of Ramwanja in East Africa, where very heartbreaking. There are a lot of young people out there that sleeps in houses that are aged. I had to have an experience. I slept in the refugee camp during that particular training, and we were training young people with digital skills. Okay, because we believe now to say if we train these young people with these skills, they will go out there, they can start up their business, they can start up a photography company, they can open up a small printing shop where they can print stuff, and so we're teaching these young people, these refugees, on how to use basically cinematography, how to use a computer. So that is from the organization angle of it. We are empowering young Africans, those Africans, to say skills, is the way to go. Innovation is the way to go. So that's what we do with the organization. So that's one of the speech that you saw me giving that day. I was trying to show people how, because usually when people are talking about climate change, they sit on tables and they think this is just a theoretical stories. They are coming in with policies. They haven't seen what is really happening on the ground. They haven't really seen to say young people and the people out there that have been affected. When I'm talking about dirty water, marking water, people are drinking water which is next to cow dung. People don't look at it from that angle. They just think this is just climate change. It's just a whole story. It's a climate change thing. It's the water thing. But I was trying to show the people to say we have critical issues right here in Africa, and those issues can be solved by us, the young people. I gave them an example of how we used media as an advocacy tool. So young people, they don't need to wait and relax and say, you know what, we'll wait for the government to do something. Young people, we have.
Peter. Peter. Okay, that's not on my end. Let's see. Peter, can you hear me okay? So we're experiencing a technical issue one more time. And just, ladies and gentlemen, it could be due to the distance that Peter has between us over there in Zambia. We're going to give him a second to try and get back on. Peter, can you hear me okay, brother?
Yeah, we can bring in the change. Hello? Hello?
Yep, I can hear you. I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so we can bring in the change as young people. So in that speech, I was telling them to say, there are critical issues that people are facing in the community out there. And I was trying to show them, not the theoretical climate change, not the theoretical stuff that we talk about. I showed them the video, I said, look at this. There's a child. Imagine that woman was carrying a baby and that baby drinks that dirty water. You'd imagine. And this is a human right. This is a human right that we're talking about. We've got the right to clean water. You understand what I'm talking about? And I was trying to tell the young people to say, as young people, we don't have to wait for the government to say, government, do this, do that. We have the tools. You have a phone right in front of you. There is something that we can do about it. There are a lot of organizations out there that are willing to fund, support certain projects. There's something that we can do about this thing. So that was my speech that you saw right there on LinkedIn, because we had a gathering of the largest youth network in the country, and then we had other people from different countries who came for that same regional adolescent health Indaba. Yeah, so basically that's that. So from the organization space, that's what we've been doing as an organization. So it is the company that gives us the equipment. It is the company that has been supporting this organization. I can tell you frankly, as an organization, we don't have any person funding us. It is just the initiative of the young people. It is the same equipment that the young people have, the same talent and skills that the young people have that they've been using to empower other young people. What we are saying is that we're not saying that we don't need funders. Yes, we need funders. Yes, we need sponsors. But are we going to wait for funders and sponsors to cause impact out there in the society? No. With what we have, we can use it to impact the world out there. So that is the story with the organization and the company, basically. Yeah.
No, I'm very curious. That was definitely a mouthful that describes it a great deal. So is the government involved in some of this?
Okay, so when it came to the Bombwe crisis, the Bombwe village water crisis, we had the councillor involved in this. So we interviewed the councillor, and the councillor admitted to say, we have this problem here. We don't have boreholes. We don't have enough boreholes. So here is the truth. In as much as the government can come in, they're still facing a lot of economic challenges. They cannot manage to give clean water to everyone in Zambia. That's why organizations and other people in the community need to rise up as leaders and see how best can we solve this particular problem that we have in the community. So the councillor admitted to say, we have a problem of water and we have a problem of this in our community. So what next? So he's crying for help. So what do we do? Are we going to sit down and relax because the government is doing nothing about it? No, we must find a way out. Yeah. So the government is involved, but the government needs help also. Yeah, that's the
so the government's not a part of the solution, is what I'm understanding.
So the government is part of the solution because they have also joined the advocacy by saying, yes, this is what is happening. And the councillor even went in detail to say, actually, that's not the only place. There's place A and B and C and D. So the government also is opening up our eyes. But the truth is, in certain places, they've managed to sink some boreholes in certain places where they can. But it's a challenge. It is a great, great challenge out there. Yes.
So thereby what you said, it becomes more instrumental in teaching and training entrepreneurs that will be a participant in that. And as we're seeing in the current cycle, now that we have this election, it's even more important for the young people that are receiving some of your mentorship, for them to be a part of that solution as well. The action is what is needed to be able to get the water there. Oh, excuse me. That was my alarm. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And so with that in mind, so your teachings, the young people that you're working with, they're a part of this change. And that's part of what we're trying to do here at Make Us Smart, and give an exposure to the audience that see what you're doing. This is it's the coming together of the young people with your teachings that assists them in being able to become entrepreneurs themselves and a part of the solution to bring the water shortage to an end. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah.
And then, Peter, now for a novice that's coming from the Western Hemisphere, and they might not be fully aware of what the water shortage is about there, what can they do to contribute? What do you think that they're able to do? Is it we see oftentimes in some of our videos and/or commercials that people are going over and they're spending a year's time to volunteer their services, etc. what is the real support that you're able to, that HG Ministries and founder and the Purpose Global can receive from people that is more of assistance? What can people do? Who can they contact? What is the organization they can be a part of in Zambia?
All right. So, like I said, I gave you an example. We have Perfect Philanthropic Media Organization. So, apart from
Yes.
just using media and advocacy, we go on the ground and implement. So that is our dream. That is our desire as well. So we're also working with the Zambia Youth Water Parliament that looks at issues to do with water, which is our very close partner because they're experts when it comes to that sector. So what am I saying to the people out there that would like to come on board? So we have got these different projects where we have the sinking borehole campaign. So basically what we need, of course, resources. We need resources so that we can sink in these boreholes. But the truth is, I'm not a type of person that always look at just getting the money, because for Africa, sometimes getting the money becomes the problem, because the more we keep on getting the money, the more we want more money, and we never get innovative. The question is, how then do we bring in an innovative solution from the very community where we are seeking in boreholes, from the very society? So we are looking at how best. Okay, so the key is how can we empower more young people in that particular village if they're doing a particular thing. Let's take, for instance, if their main skill is with herding cattle or farming or something, are we capable of empowering young people in that particular sector so that they can raise a certain amount of money so that they can come in? Because there are solutions that can be driven as a community. If they're capable of being empowered, they can do some maize, plant maize, sell to the government, or do certain things, and the profits they can use them to sink a borehole or maybe to a well or something out there. So I'm not only looking at solutions where we just beg for money, but I'm also looking at solutions where people are ready to come in and empower more young entrepreneurs, or empower the community with skills as well.
Let's talk about that very quick. Let's just look at that just really quick. So is that meaning current businessmen and women, because current business persons, is that them saying my company will send over X amount of people that are going to help teach some of these entrepreneurial skills and or agricultural skills? Is that some of what we're saying is what is needed? Or elaborate on that a little bit further, if you don't mind.
So two things. Number one, we need resources. Number two, we need empowerment when it comes to skills. Yeah, so if there are companies out there, because I know there are experts out there in the Western world, we've got people that are good when it comes to tech with different industries. We need more empowerment, because already we've seen the crisis when it comes to water here. Then what is the problem?
Absolutely.
It means we don't have enough expertise or something like that. So we need to be empowered in twofold. Number one, in terms of resources. Number two, in terms of knowledge as well. So we need people to come in. If you can partner up with agricultural companies that want to empower us when it comes to knowledge in terms of agriculture, and also with resources, because there must be a practical side of it. Okay, so if we're empowered with the knowledge and then we are showed the technical how, then it will be very easy for us to implement those projects. Okay, they can come in, empower the young farmers, empower tech guys, and then they give us the money to say, okay, this is the money, now go and grow this money. They begin to watch us and give us more technical support. For me, that is the way to go. I don't like the other way where you just get the money, you give us the money,
and without
then
absolutely
that is a problem for Africa.
And I think some of it is that people have grown very accustomed to that. They've seen when money goes to Africa and or some of the other countries, there is a trepidation that certain people feel, well, is it getting directly to the people? And I think that's one of the roadblocks that we approach. Is that some of the roadblocks that you find yourself?
Yes, because you see, the organization space, I'm going to be very frank with you. The organization space, the reason why it has given us a certain power is because we come from the entrepreneurial background. So we are in this organization space with passion. There are a lot of people that have monetized problems in Africa. I'm going to be very frank with you. They've monetized health problems. They've monetized different problems, because poverty can also be a problem. So they've monetized that so they can get more donor. They look at donor money as investment so that they can get the job from the donor money.
And that's the roadblock. That becomes the roadblock.
You understand what
I do.
You understand what I
do.
mean? And then certain people have just pocketed that money. You understand what I mean? Yeah. So
I do.
Yeah, so usually when you're looking at organization, you need to look at organizations that have actually been running without the money. You understand what I mean? Yeah, you
I do.
understand what I mean? So
I do.
I remember during the meeting, one of the person was like, these are just one of those documentaries where you go in the village, then you document, and then people are suffering. We've watched some of this documentary. So what are you doing about it? And I told one of this person who asked this question. I told him, do you know that when we were going to shoot that documentary, we went there actually to make money because we were working on a project, a government tender. You understand? So we're actually making money there. So now the young people decided to say, okay, they've seen a problem here with their money and with what they have. They decided to advocate for that particular problem. When we get those videos online, who pays for it? It's the young people. When we are shooting those videos, the time who sacrifices them time is the young people. So at the end of the day, I feel like even people who fund, they have to fund people who are really passionate and people who are not going to eat their money, because we've had a lot of stories in Africa where funders, like, their money is eaten or stuff like that. So the money is actually blocked. So now look at this. If they come in and empower these young people, then how are they going to block? Even if the money is blocked, the skills will never be blocked. You understand what I mean? So that's
And
why we
that's
need
the
to,
that's the
yeah,
main
yeah, yeah.
thing, the skills that they
You
develop,
get
the
it.
skills in order to,
You
and
get it.
so that is a part of what we're trying to do for
Yeah.
the entrepreneurship. They
So that's a
develop the
good model.
skills. Absolutely.
It's actually
Absolutely.
a very good, perfect model. Yeah. So, yeah.
So what they can do is offer skills training. Some of it can
Yes.
be
Offer
offering
skills
the
training.
skills training and not just
Yeah.
offering money. The money helps
Yes.
to coddle the problem, but
Yes.
okay, that's one of the ways. And then are they doing
Yes.
that directly through the organizations that they research that are already functioning without the funds currently?
Yeah. So they can look for reputable organizations that are actually genuine, that are actually doing the work, not organizations that are in the business. The organizations that are in business now, they make funding as a way of business, because Africa's poverty also has made people to monetize donor funding
And
to a
it's one
point
of the
whereby
tragedies.
to a point whereby if me, I'm an African and I want to help another organization, that organization can actually refuse my funding because they don't want their funding to be cut off from external
I've
donors.
never heard of something so illogical.
Yeah. So let's take, for instance, if there's an organization that deals with education, I have enough money as a company, and I'm saying, okay, I want 30 children, I want to sponsor 50 children, and then they'll just go like, they'll hesitate because they already have a funding. Some of them, because they'll feel like what happened in Kenya, they'll feel like, we might actually lose our funding. You understand what I mean?
And so if they lose their funding because they refuse the assistance from you, so what happens? The money they're already getting, they continue to control, and then it doesn't trickle down into the young people who
Yes,
need it.
yes, yes, yes,
Oh
yes,
wow.
yes. They can monetize.
Wow.
They can have that money. So it's quite. I saw this also in the refugee camp. I'm sorry to say this, but I saw this in the refugee camp. There are some of the products that are sent to the refugee camps, but what I saw was there's this porridge and other stuff. You'll find that there are other people that are actually selling those products.
Oh my gosh.
You understand? So
Wow.
poverty also
I do.
poverty
I
can be
do.
a very problem. Sometimes the greatest enemy to Africa is the Africans themselves. Yeah.
Well, we have a similar situation here in Western civilization in the United States. Sometimes the problem are Black people themselves, and it's a
Okay.
controversial situation for us to have to discuss and even mention. But it is a reality that we discuss if we're trying to find real solutions.
Yeah.
It's
So
an
the other
unfortunate
solution,
thing.
yeah. Sorry to cut
The
you
other
short.
solution, no, that's
I
okay.
don't
The other
lose my thought.
solution.
I don't lose my thought. So the other solution, let's take for instance, right now we've got a drought crisis in Zambia.
Yes.
We've had power outages. Just for us to have this, I think it's been a problem. We had a network challenge, first of
Oh
all.
my
Number two, we
goodness.
had the power
I
problem.
know,
Yeah.
brother. We had the power outage. That's why we're so
Power
blessed to
outage,
get to this
network.
part.
So already you can tell to say, now imagine somebody who
Yes.
is in the media space. Imagine people who are in the tech space. Imagine a young person who's owning a barber shop, a salon. Uh, Imagine the challenges that they are facing out there. So the problem is it the first time that we are facing this problem? The answer is no. Then then what is the problem? There's a book by Dr. Miles Monroe which talks about the benefits of change, preparing for change. Change always happens. There's always change. But if you don't prepare for change, change becomes painful. When change
Mm.
catches you off guard, Okay,
This
so
is the
the
same
problem.
Dr. Miles Monroe. Same Dr. Miles Monroe.
Yes, that I mentioned.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Okay.
in leadership, it's very important to prepare for change. So, you can imagine from 1964 up to now, the question is, how have we prepared for this change? We've only depended on one form of energy, that is the hydropower. And load shedding is not happening for the first time. It's just that this time around, it's been the worst of it all. Okay, so we are having a crisis right now where we are having power for 6 hours, power cuts for 12 hours, and all that. And they, the economy, of course, is being affected by that because the production is low. So now, what then is the solution? The problem is the company which was there. I won't mention the name of the company. It was like a monopolistic company, and they decided to go with one direction, type of thinking. They never wanted to, explore other forms of energy. Even when other investors came with other forms of energy, they wanted to stick to their hydro energy. And then now that it has become so worse, okay, they tried to say, okay, let's come up with a solution whereby when the people in the community they install solar, we can have that power to the grid. But it's not working. It's not working. So they waited for a time where things have become so difficult. That's where now they're talking about other solutions. So because of being monopolistic, that has affected our country. Okay, I don't know if there's some things involved. There's always some key players involved for
There
us
always
just to
is.
have one the monopoly. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I
So
do.
now, yes, but now what has happened is that the president of Zambia, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, has opened up a door of other forms of energy. Let's take, for instance, we've got the coal, the coal. The coal plants now where power is being produced. We also have the solar energy. He has removed, he scrapped off all the taxes when we're importing these solar panels, because the sad part is that we don't really manufacture solar panels here. If there's any company that does, then we don't really, so we have to import. So there's an opening in terms of solar energy as well. No taxes are involved because we are in a crisis period. Apart from that, even other forms of energy, of course. So for investors who would want to invest, we've got companies, we've got young people, who are in our network, we've got leaders, we've got other young people that are running businesses. So in the midst of a crisis, I always see opportunities. Okay, now we can look at Dubai. Dubai was a desert, but if you look at it right now, it's a
It's
very, very
correct. Perfect
beautiful country.
example.
Yes. So even us right now, we are facing a crisis. I think people have seen the beautiful Victoria Falls. It's quite dry right now. But the question is, in the midst of crisis, there's an opportunity for energy investment, because now the government, for the first time, they've opened doors for people who want to invest in the energy sector. So that is also an opening door. We also have had the food shortage crisis because of drought. I told you maize is our staple food in Shima,
Yes.
that
Yes.
pap thing. So because we had drought, so we've had some uh, um, food crisis. So there's a work for cash, sort of like project where people have to work to get some food, some cash for food, and all that. So also in the food sector, that shows that there's an opening. That shows that there's a crisis there. So if there are other investors that would also want to explore that sector, that's another sector that can be explored. So basically, we need more people to come on board. And when it comes to the solar and the energy sector, we need, let's take for instance, even just a simple light. There are certain lights that are being imported from China. A simple light is a rechargeable light, but they're being imported from China. Let's take, for instance, if you had people from the USA that are manufacturing those. I know a small light. It's something that we can learn as young people here, as innovators here. This is something that we can learn. If they can come and empower us with that skills, they can send us the materials, and we can have certain things assembled here, and they can be sold out. Just a simple light. There are households there that are ready to buy these simple lights because they are facing load shedding, blackouts. They need this just simple light. So like the opportunities are quite a lot. They are massive. Yeah, that's all I can say when it comes to that. Yeah.
Well, if I may, just tagging along on that particular thing, so the opportunities are there. What about the oversight? I know some people are concerned. So we give our supplies, we give our money. Where is the oversight? Because there, I remember as a young kid and watching some of the commercials, your heart definitely bleeds for it. but then people having seen that for a number of years, they want to see the oversight. So it would be in charitable organizations like yourself, where there would be the oversight. Where would the oversight be, so they can see that it's going to be utilized correctly?
Okay, those resources are going to be utilized correctly, if I can get you right. Is that your question? You
Yes.
just
So
referred to
maybe a better way to say this. So we have a company. Said company is saying, I'm sending over all the supplies to help with the you call it the hydro supplies in order to build that. So now in oversight, that means, so who's supervising that the equipment is going to the correct neighborhoods where it most benefit them? Who are those supervisors? Because we like in the United States, we understand that sometimes there's corruptible people, and their
yeah, yeah,
supervision,
you're right.
they take some of the money. They take some of the money, and
You're right.
we've seen that be a repeated situation. So, in how do we balance? How do we do those balances where there's some supervision, or how do you know? So it would be you collecting with, I'm sorry, not collecting, but you and other persons like yourself saying, we'll be the monitors to make
Yes.
sure that the resources get to them, and that we, since you work exclusively with the young people, we know that you're going to be the oversight person. Is that what we're looking at, where it'll be non-governmental officials that are being the oversight and or the supervisors?
Yes, because at the end of the day, I will not talk about other people. I'll talk about the models that have worked for us.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll talk about the models that have worked for us, because at the end of the day, there are checks and balances that have to take place. Because we, the young people, we've been trained. I always tell people, we're not the leaders of tomorrow. We are leaders of today. Already, what we've been implementing, the money is the way things have been flowing. That we've been accountable with that. I talked about leadership and governance.
Accountability, you said it.
Yeah,
Yes.
accountability. Yeah, I talked about leadership and governance. So we also look at accountability. We've got one of our partners called Healing Bound. Already we are trying to look at how government is spending their money. Are they spending it rightly? We were following up when it comes to that. So accountability is one of the strengths that we have as well. At the end of the day, we must have accountability. That one just has to be there. Checks and balances have to be there at the end of the day.
Have to.
And then the community has to be aware of certain projects. They have to be aware, especially when it comes to organization projects, they have to be aware of how the money is being spent, how much has come in, what is meant for them, are they really receiving this money? And then the same community, they need to talk about how the benefit. We need to get the real message and the real testimonies from the actual beneficiaries, because we just don't
that's
need
awesome.
handwritten reports. Yes, we don't just need handwritten reports where they write a report, put it on your email, send it to the donor. No, we want to hear the stories, and if possible, we see the donors fly in and come and see to say, is this really working? Okay, because we need that checks and balances. Very, very important part. Very important. Yeah. And then
With the
apart
work,
from that, we have the anti-corruption commission here in Zambia. We have the anti-corruption commission.
elaborate on that. I don't know how many people know about that. I think that's
So the
something more people need
anti-corruption
to.
commission, what they do, they look at such stuff where if there are corrupt organizations or corrupt companies, or they come in and they penalize those people who are eating funding that does not belong to them. So if there are funders out there, donors out there, we introduce them to the anti-corruption as well, just in case if anything happens, they can raise up a red flag, and they can have power towards those same people who are eating those money. So that's why we are here, to make things easier. Yeah, that's why it's a network. Yeah.
So it sounds to me that's part of what the title of your organization is, the name,
Yeah.
by purpose global. It has a purpose to, yes, and in order to end this is the purpose. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Now, are you going to be doing any more speeches that are involving the young people that talk about some of these issues with the water shortage, etc.?
Yes. With what I saw in the
Anything
village. With what I saw in the village.
with the
with
cows,
what I saw,
in the water, with the cows in the water?
with what I saw, in that village, I'm telling you. Like I told you, I grew up from a middle income
Yes,
background,
yes.
so I hate poverty. I really hate it, because I have faced poverty. You know what I mean? I went to school. Certain times we would eat that porridge from UNICEF. I had to walk long distances. There's a time we were staying without power at some point because we didn't have water also at some point. Even the president of the same old youth parliament, he grew up from a village. He had to walk long distances just to
The
fetch
current the current president, the current
Yes,
president.
yes, the current president. Yes, yes. So it's
Mhm.
not something that we are just doing just because it's something that we have gone through and we hate it. We don't like it. So um, me stopping talk about the water thing. I'm going to continue to talk about this until I see the solutions are born birth out there, not only in my continent, not only in my country, but even out there. People need to have the right to and the access to clean water. And I'm going to fight for this. And I was even telling my brother to say, you know what? If I had all the monies, I would go in those villages and just sink all the boreholes.
Well,
Yeah.
you should run for
So,
office. What about you running for office to make some of these changes?
yeah. Recently, we had one of the supporting a member of parliament who is also working closely with the president. He came to support us during our event that we had discussing some of these issues, and he was challenging us young people to say, for us to bring some of these changes, we need to be part of the government. But the question should be, are we all called to be? It's a matter of me knowing and discerning to say, should I become part of the government? Because my dream basically has been to offer counsel and guidance to the government and not to be in the
Yes.
government. Yeah.
And you know what? It's probably not the worst thing to think about is staying outside of the government. You get more things done oftentimes.
Yeah, yeah, true, true, true. Because when you go there, you shut up.
Yes, yes.
Keep quiet.
You have too many
You're forced to
interests
keep
there.
quiet.
Yep. And there's too much interest in you keeping your silence as
Uh,
an elected official.
yeah,
I
yeah,
must say, what you've already been doing and what you've already accomplished, Peter, is far more reaching than a number of elected officials already. And the admiration is to your efforts and what you've given your life to it in your dedication. So it seems that you're more effective than being an elected official. Although I challenge, I think the old expression used to be a part of the solution, you have to be a participant and you get in the office. But I think sometimes with what your words were, they're spot on. It's better to operate outside of those lines sometimes and help give the guidance and pathway for the government officials to say, okay, we see what they're doing. Let's model that in our leadership. So with
yeah.
that in mind, sometimes it is better operating outside of that. I don't know that a lot of our audience has the understanding that the water shortage, and then thereby the food shortage are issues that we don't hear often. You hear a number of the other issues and topics, and then we run interference with some of the issues of well, we heard the money, but these are real solutions that you've offered us today. And what I would like to do, Peter, please give out a lot your website, and I know we're also going to link that in the bio of this particular broadcast, where they can get in contact with you, and in addition, where they can they can send prayers, not only prayers but resources, and if they're interested to learn more about your work. I was flabbergasted and filled with joy when I saw your speech, and I think a number of people should witness what I witnessed in your speech with the young people with the water shortage. So where can someone find out more about this information and or contact you to say, I want to help?
All right.
That's a
Interesting.
long
Thank you for
pause,
that
Peter.
privilege. Yeah. Thank you for that privilege. So, like I said, we deal with different critical issues. So we have perfect philanthropic media impact. We are on social media. You can check out some of our works and what we've been doing. Some of our advocacy work in line with water, in line with diseases like we had an outbreak, diseases of cholera, in line with persons with disabilities. It's just that I don't have the whole time to mention some of the works that we've been doing, in line with skills development, in line with promoting peace in countries like South Sudan, which has been long marred with war. You can check out some of our work.
Let me ask you a quick question, Peter. With Sudan, or is your organization also working in Sudan?
Yes, we have impactors there in South Sudan. Yeah.
Impactors.
Well,
Impactors is the name given them from your organization. I like
yes,
that.
yes, those are
Oh,
part
that's
of it.
fantastic.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, so we also have the Zambia Youth Water Parliament. This one specifically deals with water crisis, climate change, and sanitation as well, because you find some of these girls, they don't even have sanitary pads. Recently, with the president, we went out there to just distribute some sanitary pads, and also just to train these young people. Yeah, so basically, those are some of the platforms. We also have the Purpose Global, where
Purpose
we're
Global.
training. Yeah, the Purpose Global. You can check out the
Well,
Purpose
you got to
Global.
say it like you said it before, because that was the thing. Purpose Global. How'd you say it? So I can say it like that.
Oh, I
Purpose
said the
Global.
Purpose Global. Yes, the
Purpose
Purpose
Global. And
Global.
that's where we want to get
Yes,
our
yes, yes.
audience to be able to understand. Purpose Global.
Yes, so that is my major focus, because at the end of the day, um, Dr. Miles gave a story of how he was teaching for a long time and people never used to change. Just like the story of the people of Israel, they left Egypt, but nothing changed. Freedom sometimes doesn't really mean you have the freedom. We got our independence in 1964, but up to now we are having all these issues in terms of load shedding. Poverty is still a problem in Africa. Then what is the problem? Donor funding has been given to Africa most of the times, but we are still wallowing in poverty. Then what is the problem? We came to realize to say the problem has to do with the belief system, because uh, people will never go beyond their belief system. We always become what we believe in. So the people of Israel came out of Egypt, but they still had the mindset of Egypt. So same applies with African countries. There was a point where we were colonized and we depended on our colonial masters. They gave us everything that we wanted. They brought the electricity, even the hydro, probably the same station that we have there. It was built up by some colonial masters, or back then in those days. And so people still have that belief system where, okay, you just have to get a job. I'm not saying a job is bad. Just get a job, and you don't have to innovate. So there is a belief system. There is a mindset problem. That's where the Purpose Global comes in. If you saw the recent event that I had with the AG Gospel movement, with the young people, we had a lot of young people in my city. I gathered different young people from different church organizations, different youth groups in one place, and I didn't go there and just start telling them about stories to do with funny stories. No, I went there to give them a mindset shift, and I'm going to share this here. um, um, when David was talking to, is it King Saul? King Saul said, "But you are just a youth." So that is a term that has blinded even some of the young people today. When they want to rise up as leaders, when they want to rise up as entrepreneurs, there's a mentality even in Africa which they say, "You are just a youth." So it's not about what people also say. Even the young people also, they just look at themselves and say, "I'm just still 20, I'm just still 18, I'm just still 15, I'm just a youth." But if you look at David brought a national solution. David was talking to a king. He was talking to the high tables. He was not in the streets looking for some girls or for some liquor to sip. No, David was solving some critical issues right there. So they told him, "You are just a youth," but he did not listen to what the people were saying.
You
He
can't let it hold you back.
believed. Yes, he believed in who he was, and he believed in his God. So that is the spirit of leadership, which is different from the leadership which they just teach us to say, "Do this, do that." There's a difference between the leadership spirit and the spirit of leadership. The spirit of leadership comes from within, where you believe, then you have to act. For example, I like what Dr. Miles gave an example of a lion. There's a lion that was staying with the sheep, so it behaved like the sheep. So one time there's a lion, another lion tried to attack the sheep, and it saw that lion, and that lion was surprised. It was actually frightened because it saw the lion. You understand what I mean? But it had to make a decision. So it tried to follow the other lion. Then they went by a stream. When it went by a stream, the other lion that was staying with the sheep, looked at itself in the water and saw a reflection of itself, and the lion was like, "But I look like the other animal," and it was surprised. And then it roared, and then it was surprised. I can actually roar. What is happening to me? Then later on, it had to make a decision whether I should continue with the sheep or I should go with the other lion in the jungle where it's very difficult. but the lion decided to go in the jungle. By going in the jungle, the lion was going to manifest its true identity. What am I trying to say? The spirit of leadership comes in when you have to step in the unknown, when you have to step in the hard situation. So the problem has been, we have the sheepish mentality, we have the sheep mentality. There's a mindset that has kept us to be who we are not as Africans. Why is it that China is making so much advancement? Why is it that USA is making so much advancement and we are still on the same level? So there's a certain mentality that has to be taken off. So we need to get out of it. Feels good to stay like a sheep where you have got a shepherd is taking you from A, B, C, D, but there's no development that is happening. So there's a spirit of leadership. It's only that spirit of leadership and faith of stepping into the unknown and saying, no matter what, we are going to achieve it. We don't know what is in the jungle, but it's only that faith. Like David, he stepped out and he said, all I have is this thing. All I have are these 3 stones, and I'm going to bring down Goliath, man. So even as third world countries, even as a third world country, the only message I have, that's why as the Purpose Global, is to change the mentality, to change the belief system. If only we can make young people and make the community, not only the young people, realize of who they are, to say, hey guys, we are not sheep, we are lion, we need to take it up. Even if it looks like a jungle, we don't know where we are, we don't know what we have in front of us, we don't have the money, we don't have all the resources like Goliath who had the swords, like Goliath who had everything. All we need to do is to believe in ourselves, because all we have is that belief. If we believe in ourselves, then definitely we are going to achieve whatever we need as third world countries. Thank you.
I tell you what, there's 2 things I take from that immediately. One, you need to come to my church and give that as a sermon.
Not a problem.
And I think number two, you touched, there's a touchstone there that I think is very relevant to some of the mindset that's here in these states. And but the solution is definitely what you said. It is about working with the mind. Working to change the mindset, I think, is where we don't concentrate enough. And then when we're working with mind, we're trying to change the spirit, not to be manipulative, but to say break free from these chains. That's what I understood from that. And that in itself is with the young people. And that's where my history is trying to make sure young people have a mindset to make solid decisions that understand, change your mindset and you change your life. And I think that's a big part of what I took from that last portion of what you spoke about. Change the mindset and you change your circumstances. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what Peter, the Purpose Global is. Helping people discover, manifest, and maximize their purpose. If you discover your purpose in life, you've discovered your area of leadership. And that's it. If you discover a purpose, you know to say this. You know, I said a very, I think one of the most trending quotes that I said, I know it's a very blunt quote, but I said, if you don't understand the purpose of a spoon, you might use it for digging. If you don't understand the purpose of a toilet.
You got to repeat it.
If you don't understand the purpose of a spoon, you might use it for digging. If you don't understand the purpose of a toilet, you might use it for bathing. That's exactly what people do with their lives. When purpose is not known, abuse is avoided.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's one of the favorite quotes. I think most trending quotes that I've ever released. So what am I trying to say? So it all starts with the belief system. When young people, when the community understand their purpose, when organizations understand their purpose, when governments understand their purpose, then we'll be good to go. We'll be good. Because look at this. I'll give you an example of a parable of a talent. You know, the talents people were giving according to their talents. One guy went and buried his talents. He went and buried the coins.
I remember the scripture. I remember the parable.
Remember the scripture, right?
I do.
And the Bible says,
do.
And the Bible says everyone was given according to their measure.
That's right. I remember this very well.
In other terms, we can cry for success, but that's what we can manage. That's the capacity that we have. So it all gets down to, according to your measure, according to that measure that they're talking about, is your capacity. Have you understood your purpose? Have you understood your belief system? Have you understood your capacity? Can you manage this thing? Because everyone was given according to their measure. So then the problem comes in. If people can understand their purpose, because people cannot unleash their potential if they don't understand their purpose. Let's take, for instance, I know my purpose. That's why my potential has been unleashed. I'm capable of coming on this podcast because I understand my purpose. I can speak because there's something that I need to talk about. I need to advocate for purpose. So potential can only be manifested when people understand their purpose, because they will go an extra mile to advocate for whatever they want to do. You understand what I mean? So when it
I
comes to
do.
capacity, it all trickles down in terms of capacity. So we as African countries, probably the reason why we don't actually have more is because we've not expanded our purpose, we've not expanded our potential, we've not expanded our capacity. You understand what I mean? So if you can manage what we have, like what that other guy did, he went and buried the talents. He buried the talents. He was doing nothing about it because he did not understand his potential. He did not understand his purpose. He did not understand his capacity. So it all gets down to that. So that's one of the KPIs that you need to use when you are not growing. So if you're not growing, so usually there's a management problem or a capacity problem, and that can only be broken if people understand their purpose, which will push in their potential. Yeah.
On that note, we couldn't have stated or ended that part any better than that, my friend.
Yeah.
I really don't think we could have ended it any better than that statement. Your wisdom, your insight, your experience, and what I witnessed so far from just all the work that you're doing is completely inspirational. And I challenge our audience to participate in being a part of the solution. One of the quotes I do like that I just recently reacquainted myself with is, the revolution begins with the loveolution, and loveolution is loveolution, and loveolution is the revolution. So you have begun, and so in Zambia, you have begun a loveolution, and the foundation of that is the young people, of which are very close to my heart and your mission. Peter, thank you so much, my good brother. You are constantly going to be in our prayers and our blessings. And this is not over here, because since we had so many technical problems, that you have been such a humble, pleasant, patient individual about, brother, the blackouts and everything. I thank you on behalf of Makers Bar. I think on behalf of our audience as well. I'd like us to follow up on this series. I'd like us to follow up. And I know also that we're going to be connecting with some other guests and people that would be interested to find out more about what they can do to offer help and solutions to be able to work with you. This has been one of the most inspirational interviews I've had with Makers Bar. With all of our challenges, we know that God had to say, okay, you know what? This message is still going to get out. And so with that, I thank you again, dear friend. I'm hopeful to call you a dear brother and a dear friend after having this, because it has been completely eye-opening and awareness. I thank you so much, good man.
All right. No, thank you so much. I am very humbled. I don't take any opportunity lightly. Makers Bar, I would like to thank the management and everyone. Thank you so much for identifying potential. That's what leadership is. That's what leadership is, creating opportunities for other people. And I'm very, very, very humbled. That's what servant leadership is. Servant leadership is always about giving other young leaders an opportunity. I love the heart and the desires that you have, your passion towards young people like me.
Thank you.
And just looking at your swag, your personality, the way you interact, you've given me that platform. You've made me feel very free here on this particular platform. I want to tell you to say I really, really appreciate you, and I thank the Almighty God for giving me this opportunity of meeting such a wonderful person like you. Thank you. I don't take this lightly, and I don't take this opportunity.
I don't either.
I appreciate it, and I thank you so much. I am so grateful from the bounds of my spirit, from my heart. And on behalf of all the organization, the Purpose Global, the Zambia Youth Water Parliament, PP Media Impact, and all the young people in Zambia, I stand here and I say, thank you so much. In my language, we say, Zikomo Kwambili, Zikomo, thank you.
Yes. Zikombo Wakimbi. You brought me to tears, man. You're not supposed to do that.
Zikomo Kwambili.
Zikombo Wakili.
Yes, and I promise to do for you an outro for a song. I know
yes.
My voice will not sound that
yes.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Let's do it, man. You got it.
But let me see if I can get the microphone with me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can sing something. So I actually have okay. So
the volume went down.
Oh, the volume has gone down, but can you get me though?
Perfect. Yes.
All
yep.
Right.
Perfect.
Okay. So the song goes like this. Celebration Jubilation. It's another day with a gift of life. In Sansanebo, in Sansalelo. It's another day with a gift of life. Uyu umoyo umani pasa umoyo naonga zikomo pakuni pasa umoyo pakuni pasa umoyo pasa umoyo. So this song particularly means, God, I thank you for giving me a gift of life. Thank you so much.
It is. Look what you did again, brother. I truly am humbled by the time that you've taken out for us from your work. I am truly humbled and grateful. On behalf of Makers Bar, we thank you completely. And this will not be the last time. We will do a follow-up with this. We will do a follow-up to see how things are going. And we are looking forward to reaching out and connecting the dots, Peter. My dear brother, humbly, I submit my gratitude, and we are looking forward to what we're going to do from this point out. And thank you for being a part of the solution, Peter.
So before you go,
yes.
I want you to do this one more thing for me.
What's that? If it's singing, I don't want to sing and scare you. I might sing and scare you away.
Yes, Zambia Kuchado.
Zambia
Kuchado.
Zambia Kuchado.
Kuchado. Yes.
Zambia Kuchado.
Yes.
Zambia Kuchado. Oh, I like. Okay, so tell me what I said.
So
what did I say?
Zambia to the world. Zambia to the world.
Zambia to the world. You know what? Zambia Kuchado.
Yes, Zambia Kuchado. So let's do that at the count of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Zambia Kuchado.
Kuchado.
Let's do that again. Let's go. Zambia Kuchado.
Zambia Kuchado.
Kuchado. Okay, thank you so
Zambia
much.
Kuchado. Thank you, brother. I just your spirit has been one of the most beautiful lights of the day. I tell you, I just can't even tell you enough.
And you're welcome in Zambia, please. I want to see you here.
You know what? I'm going to have some of the food, so you better be ready to feed me.
Benshima. That pump.
Absolutely. My brother, God bless, and all the love to you, good brother.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, right. We are staying in contact, okay?
Okay. All right.
On behalf of Makers Bar and our audience, I truly thank you. Makers Bar, please press like and subscribe. Share this message with someone else. Please be in contact with our dear brother, Peter. Check out his organization and see what we can do to be able to support their efforts and where we can go with this. Peter, again, with all my love and support, remember, Makers Bar, we are creating 1 million leaders today for tomorrow, and he is one of those change leaders that is making it happen. Stay awake, be involved, and participate. God loves you, and so do we. God bless. Take good care. Peter, my brother, take good care.
Thank you. Take good care of yourself, too.
You too, brother. We are not going to end here.
Yeah.